Hi everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Thelma and Louise Facebook Live Travel Chat. I'm Anna and this is Anna. And together we run the Thelma and Louise Facebook community, website, everything on social media, the newsletter. And we've been doing a series of lockdown travel chats to help us all get through this pandemic because we're missing travel a lot. So this is our second series of lockdown travel chats. We kind of hoped that it would never get this far, but it has, and we've actually been quite enjoying ourselves. In our first series, we did 15 chats. We talked to various women. We covered sailing trips for women. We talked about travel and perimenopause. We got the inside track from a tour guide in Venice. This time round, it seems like there's hope on the horizon in the shape of a vaccine, and we're focusing our travel chats on helping you get ready to leap back into travel as soon as we're allowed. So far, we've covered how to travel with a chronic illness. We've talked about how travel can help you connect to your personal power, and we've had a lovely chat with Nora and Susie, the two traveling aunties, who are at this moment, I think, somewhere east of Greece, I guess by now, but they've been traveling in their motorhome since 2019, and they've had quite a few stories to tell us. If you like the sound of all of those chats, do check them out on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our newsletter and find out more about our lovely community of women who love to travel over at www.thelmaandlouise.com. We'd love to see you there. Come and join us. But for now, Anna, who are we going to be talking to today?
Today we are going to talk to Tosh Brittan, who founded Divorce Goddess, which is a brand with the aim to inspire, empower and support women going through a divorce. Now, Tosh is a coach, a therapist and a healer, and she's here tonight to strip away the blame and probably the embarrassment that sometimes is associated with the subject, and to discuss how your life might look like after divorce. Here she is. Welcome, Tosh.
Hello.
Hi.
How
Hi, nice to have you here. Yes, good. Tosh, I love the contrast between the names of your brand. I mean, they are not two things that people would put together. I mean, divorce and goddess. And we know divorce is scary, sad, it's stressful. But here you are a goddess, thriving and helping others to do the same. Can you tell us about your journey and how you...
Thank you for that lovely introduction, first of all. It always tickles me a little bit and makes me laugh when people go, and that they either introduce me as the divorce goddess, and I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. It's not about me. It's about everybody who's going through a divorce and everybody showing up to be their best person, to reconnecting to who they were before things started going wrong, or before they're in a relationship, before they got married, and really to find their inner fire so they can rise like a phoenix. You know, we talk about rising like a phoenix, or, you know, I know I'm kind of going into the usuals, but, you know, grow into your beautiful lotus flower out of the mud that was the end of your relationship, and to really truly trust and believe in yourself enough to do this, and to do it well, because ultimately we can't do anything about what anybody else does to us or says to us or thinks about us, but we always have a choice as to how we let it affect us. And we always have a choice as to how we speak to somebody, how we act and how we think as well. And so I'm really all about that. I'm massively into mindfulness. It basically scraped me up off the floor one day. I spent about 6 hours crying in my downstairs loo, having started making a cup of tea after I dropped my children off at school. And I just thought, girl, you have got to get yourself together. We were going through bankruptcy pretty much at the same time, although it wasn't connected. It was the last recession. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I just thought, I've got to start looking after myself, and just taking it day by day, getting up for myself. You know, even when you just feel like you just want to put your head under the duvet covers and just to acknowledge even the small steps, like being able to get out the door, getting your children their packed lunches ready, you know, just even even, you know, whether you've got children that have flown the nest or not as well, is just actually putting something in place for you that looks after yourself, that nurtures yourself. And I talk about self-love a lot, but actually for a lot of people, self-love is too much. So we talk about self-kindness as well, because that's easier. So, and it all came out of a blog. I just sat at my kitchen table one day and went, my ex said, I don't think I can pay the rent. And I just went, oh my goodness me. I had a bit of a sort of Laurel and Hardy moment. And it's like, oh my God, you're another fine mess you've got yourself into. And I just thought, what am I going to do? And I just thought, I'm going to write about it, because if I'm feeling these pains and fears, other people must as well. So that's kind of where it came from. Then it morphed into a podcast, which went to number 41 in the US relationship charts after like about 12 episodes. And it was mad.
Fantastic.
But when I started off with Divorce Goddess, I was a bit like, are you going to really do this? And I just thought, oh, I'll just do it and it'll stay under the radar. And I remember being in a business meeting and they said, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I teach mindfulness to corporates and I blog. And they went, oh, what's your blog about? And I said, oh, it's called Divorce Goddess. And they went, no, we don't want to hear about the mindfulness and the corporates. Let's just talk about the blog and Divorce Goddess. And it has just stuck, really.
Yeah. So it must, I imagine you didn't go from that awful moment when you were sat on the bathroom floor sobbing to being very calm and peaceful and able to help other people through their divorces. I imagine there's one hell of a journey that you've been through to get there. What were the key stages of that journey for you, and what do you think other people can learn from them?
So first of all, we were actually traveling for a month on a road trip in France, and on day 3 we decided to get a divorce, and it was just, our car broke down on the motorway. I mean, anything, our new car that we bought for nothing, because we had no money left to buy a car, and everything it could. And I just started laughing one day, and I just looked at my ex and I just went, we've just got to laugh at this.
How long did you been
16 years.
Years, wow.
And it really was kind of, you know, we talked about it a few years before, and then thought we'd have another go. And we just thought, okay. And halfway through, I think we decided to stay with the holiday, because we thought it might be a good sort of transition period. But it was really difficult as well, because the children were there and suddenly we were in separate bedrooms, and the children actually heard us in this campsite talking about divorce and knocked on the door, and that's how they found out, in this campsite. And they went, Mommy and Daddy, you're going to get a divorce. And both of us had been children of divorced parents, and we just looked at each other, and it was like, that was that leap of faith to go, right, you've just got to say it. And we said, yes, we are, but we love you. And we just sort of spent the next 2 hours just holding our children and making our children the focus of the whole thing, really. But also, and then you kind of go into this weird stage where it's like everything kind of goes weird. It's like after a storm, it's like all the calm before the storm, and everything goes really quiet. And if any of your listeners have been under a storm anywhere, it's like this weird energy before or after, you know, it's like this, and you're like, what's going to happen next? Or, you know, how do we all adjust, and how do we find our little, you know, how do we find our way through this storm? And there's no, you know, it's overwhelming, and it's uncertain, and it's scary, and it's, you know, you feel ashamed, you feel a failure, you feel heartbreak, you feel resentment, you feel anger, you feel all this stuff. And then suddenly you realize you don't have a blueprint, because nothing prepares you for this. And you just, I don't know, it's just the weirdest thing. So you take every day as it comes, I think. And then one day, you know, grief is a sneaky thing. Grief kind of will like catch you. And I think that just caught me that day. I just started sobbing. I was just so sad about what had happened, and that, you know, we weren't able to make it work moving forward. And then I used to meditate a lot, and then I just started meditating, which means basically I just sat really still on a pillow in my bedroom on the floor, and I literally just went, oh, I'm just going to do some breathing and close my eyes and just see how I feel afterwards, because I knew my mind was just going mad, and I've always been 100-mile-an-hour person anyway. So.
And was it at that point you felt that you were able to start, I guess, rebuilding your identity? Because it sounds like loss of identity is a massive factor in divorce that you help women work through.
Yeah, well, for me, I think, and it's, you know, I mean, not necessarily if you be mothers, I mean, any relationship, you kind of sort of mold together, and then suddenly there's this separation, and you're like, wow. And I really encourage women to, you know, to really just go into what they loved, what helped them before, what, you know, to be a little bit crazy, a little bit goofy. I'm a real supporter of kitchen dancing on your own if you need to, or just rocking it out in the kitchen and just dancing, just singing in the car. All these things that just make you laugh, and just be a little bit childlike in amongst all the pain and everything, to find the joy and the sunshine and just the small bits, and gratitude and appreciation for what you have got. I mean, I could, obviously, as you can tell, I can talk about all sorts of things around this forever.
This is something that people should do before they press that button and say, I'm getting a divorce. I mean, just be a bit silly and think, I'm not going to get overwhelmed. I'm just going to, I know it's going to happen. And just going to...
Yeah, so it's a really interesting question, because basically, you know, if you are going to decide on the divorce, you're far more emotionally ready than your partner, your spouse. And it really is about, you actually have as much power as possible in your hands to create the foundations for you both to move forward. And I'm a great I kind of advocate setting intentions and just creating. I mean, you know, I don't know my coaching, but creating a space which is nurturing and kind. If you're going to ask for a divorce, if you are going to walk away from a marriage, that and it's almost like you have to put yourself in your spouse's boots, and just think of how you would feel if somebody just, you know, your partner went, actually, I want to get a divorce. It's about just actually having a conversation with them and saying, listen, this is how I feel. I would love this to be transition into something really lovely and foundational for both our futures, so we're able to move forward. And just sort of bring in that whole element of kindness and compassion. I mean, it's a little bit different if, you know, you found out that, you know, your partner's been having an affair or several affairs, or I heard recently somebody's husband had their 9th affair and left, and they still thought they could get them back. And you just kind of like...
Imagine every single path through divorce is completely unique. You must have worked with women who have pretty much been through every divorce experience there is. Are there any guiding factors that you can apply to all of these women? Are there any I don't know, like kind of things that they can do that help them at every stage, regardless of how they got to that point?
Yeah, I think the one thing I absolutely would say to you is that learning to be with yourself, because we have, and, you know, if people have traveled before and they've done things, you know, that little inner voice that's telling you something. And so often we just sweep it away, and we just sort of like, oh no. And the mind monkeys, I call them the divorce mind monkeys, so they'll just completely override, you know, anything that's been said. And actually, because they don't want, because sometimes it feels more fearful to do what your voice is saying inside. So something is saying, but we are, and I don't know, just really trust your intuition, really come back. And that happens through meditation. I know people say, I can't do any meditation, but actually you can. And I'm really happy to share a link with a sort of introductory mindfulness and meditation course. It's very short, but it's just kind of a few gentle exercises and things to help people. It's not religious, it's just literally about breathing, connecting with your body, and your body is your best barometer as well as to how you're feeling. And that might be if you're tired, you're hungry, you're lonely, you're angry, you're feeling unwell. Stress, where do you feel stress in your body? If you know where you feel stress is in, if you kind of get to know yourself and you go, oh God, I'm feeling really stressed. And so often we go, oh, our shoulders are really stressed. You know, it feels really kind of like, that is your body saying, right, girl, you have got to start looking after yourself if you're feeling stressed. What can you do? And
go on.
No, I was going to say, but in divorce, you're like so overwhelmed and you're spinning so many plates, and you're kind of like, you don't really have the headspace. But I have to say to you, all your listeners, all your viewers who are watching, that the more we let our divorce mind monkeys run away with this, because we're going, oh, I don't have time to take any breaths. You do, even if the kettle is boiling, just 2 minutes, just taking deep breaths, following your breath with your mind, taking your mind off what the mind monkeys want you to worry about, reclaiming that mind of yours, and eat well. Try and resist not ploughing into alcohol every night, because you're just going to be playing catch up in the morning. The children are going to know you're playing catch up, and they're going to feel it. And the other big thing I'm really into as well is energy. So it's kind of like where your thoughts go, your energy goes. And I do a lot of work about, you know, how to stop thinking about your ex and break the habit, because so often I meet lovely women that are just racked with like anger and resentment, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, it's on my website, but it just kind of, you know, it's a mini course again, and it's like about just coming back to you. Don't give them any of your energy. Don't, you know, if your ex is doing whatever he's doing, that's their stuff. You don't want to be hanging out in there and staying in that place moving forward. You want to keep all your lovely energy for you, as hard as it is.
Most of the time.
And would you ever recommend that women or anyone going through a divorce takes this sense of distance very, very practically, and would you suggest that they then go traveling to try and get that distance and to calm those mind monkeys? Is there any benefit that you can see in travel to helping people get through and survive and thrive the other side of divorce?
It's so funny you should say this, because I had a client today and she literally is just like, oh, I can't stop, I'm so angry with him, and I'm so this and I'm that. And she's actually, her children are older, they have children, and I just said to her, I said, why don't you start researching? Okay. I was literally like, I just want to pick you up and drop you either in a jungle somewhere or either in a desert, and with an NGO, with a charity, and you get your hands dirty, you start carrying water and fetching wood, and focusing on something else rather than living in your home, doing this and doing that, and just get out of your comfort zone and do something that is going to really challenge you. Don't go on, so I probably shouldn't say this, but don't go on a blooming coach trip. Well, you can if you want to, but really, 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 if you've got such a thing going on in your mind and you can do this and you have the time to do it and the funds to do it, go and put yourself somewhere and do something to help other people.
Push your own boundaries as well. I guess it's about more than, for me, I think it would be about more than forgetting what's going on and taking my mind off it and distracting myself. It would also be about pushing my own boundaries and finding and rediscovering what I am capable of. Because for me, travel has always been part of my identity and a way to find what I am capable of. And I guess the vulnerable stage of divorce is,
so I probably would say when you are so vulnerable and you are so raw, and sometimes this lady's been divorced for about 2 years. Well, she's finally going to do it. So I would say around about that time. So you have a little bit of strength, because you need a little bit of nous about you if you're going to go traveling, or even with a friend or whatever. And you just kind of need to be on it to really enjoy the experience. But Oh, I've forgotten what I was going to say then. But I would, I would suggest do something really amazing. But that's what I was going to say. So I call the comfort zone the discomfort zone, because it's the discomfort zone which is you're small in. That's your discomfort, because you don't want to step out of it. And actually your comfort zone is this amazing world outside that you can travel in and experience. And I don't know if anybody remembers, you can tell my age here, that wonderful film called Shirley Valentine.
I haven't seen it. It's one of these.
Oh my goodness me! It's legendary.
I've never seen The Sound of Music either, so it's no reflection of your age. It's just
Shirley Valentine is about this lovely middle-aged lady who decides she can't be doing with her husband anymore, and she takes herself off on this trip to a Greek island, and meets the lovely Tom Conti, and has this sort of dalliance slightly, and just, oh my God, if any of your viewers are watching and they enjoyed that film, please put it in the comments, because everybody should watch that film. I don't even know where you could find it these days, but it's just beauty. And if you've got rain outside and it's a bit chilly and you want to take yourself off to some Greek island, perfect.
Lockdown sounds like a great time to watch that.
Yeah.
What about then? This makes me think, travel romances. Is there a place for a travel romance? That I don't know, that.
Why not?
That rebound fling.
Why not?
Can that play a role in recovery, or is that generally a big mistake?
I don't know. I think it's the mindset you go into it with. If you suddenly go, do you know what? I need to have somebody wrap their arms around me, have lots of wild, great sex and some kind of holiday. Do you know what? Do it. Yeah. But own it. You've got to own it. And that other piece of advice I would say is, I'm a real big, anybody who I work with always has to buy a pair of red knickers, and it doesn't matter what they need to look like, but red pants, because your root chakra, which is your base chakra, and this is coming to the kind of slightly spiritual side, is your absolute grounding powerhouse. It's where you feel safe and everything. And you know what, if nothing else, if you're on that plane or you're on that bus and they're going, oh, you're on your own, you go, yeah, I am, but and I've got a pair of red knickers on. You don't know. You've got to have mischief in life.
Definitely. I don't think you need to be on the path of divorce to invest in a pair of red pants.
No, absolutely not. I just reckon every woman in the world, it should be like almost the symbol of International Women's Week. Like, it should be a pair of red knickers.
What at the moment though, I mean, it's very difficult to get away. It's very difficult to carve out the time away from your family home to try and do many of these things that you're talking about. And I think from what I've seen in the news and the bit of research I've done, that the research into divorce is skyrocketing, and there may well be a slew of divorces as we come out the other side of the pandemic. Yeah. Is there anything that people can do right now without having to leave their homes, without having to order a pair of red pants online, that can help them get through these really, really tough stages that they might be going through when they're trapped at home with the very person that they want to be far away from?
So perhaps, I mean, I'll get to the travel bit in a minute. So first of all, actually, no, I'm going to start that now because it's all about travel here. So I would just say that you order a board online, or get a board or something, or a big piece of paper, and or a Pinterest board, and just create some adventures. Just start putting it out there. Where would you like to go? What would you like to do? And if you're somebody who's sitting there going, actually, I just don't know who I am anymore, and I haven't got any confidence, and I'm feeling really, really like I just don't know who. Yeah, I just don't know who I am anymore. Can I just ask that you do one thing? You email, you message all your friends, and you just say, I'm in a place where I just need to be reminded who I am. Can you just write down 3 words that describe me? And it is an incredibly powerful exercise to do. And these words come down, you kind of start writing them down and going, oh, everybody thinks I'm really strong, or like inspirational, or kind, or calm, or positive. And have these 6 words in front of you before you start doing anything. And you go, right, this is me as a reminder. What can this amazingly strong person do? Where can she go? You know, how far can she put herself out of her discomfort zone? And the other thing I want to say is, if you are actually in lockdown, and I have to say domestic abuse is a completely different conversation, but I would suggest that if you can, a bit like our trip in France, use this time to set foundations for your future, especially if you have children. You know, start being kind to each other. Have a conversation where you go, actually, where do you want this to go? How do you want this to play out? Set an intention. You know, we're going to not talk in front of the children. We're going to get out of this as much money as possible, not spending it, you know, willy-nilly on fighting each other. We're going to be honest with each other. We're going to really have an honest conversation. And I've done it. And I know what it's like. And I saw that look in my ex's eye. It literally went, oh my God, you are absolutely mad thinking we're going to have a kind divorce. But this kind of really brings it back, actually, because I had this moment where we were like, what we're going to do? And we both got lawyers. And these friends of mine said, you've got to go after him. You've got to get everything you can. You've got to fight. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do it differently. And we always have a choice. We don't have to do it like everybody else does it. And I just thought, I'm going to look at my divorce as an experiment. How would it be if you can actually get out of a divorce, or get through a divorce even, or out of a marriage, and just do it with kindness?
How did you bring him around to your way of thinking? How did you get past that, him looking at you like you are mad? We are not.
Yeah. And I just said to him, I said, I know you're thinking I'm mad, but I really invite you to go away and to think about this. And you're not going to get me being emotional. You're not going to get me doing any of this. I'm just going to show up every time being kind and just saying there's a better way to get through this for ourselves and for our children, because your divorce doesn't end on the day that you get your final papers. Your decree absolute. It does not end. It is with you for the rest of your life. And I love my parents, but 30 years on, they still hate each other. They can't be in the same room. Family gatherings are utterly just painful. And you're like, come on, the pair of you. You're like your 80s. Just stop it.
Yeah.
And
it's a really good point.
And you just think, you know, this is the grandchildren going, well, why can't Granny and Grandpa be in the same room? And it's like, it just carries it through. So if you are stuck with somebody at home, you can't move out, whether it's for financial reasons, and I understand the pain of not having money and going through divorce. You haven't really got anything to lose you haven't got anything left except you've got kindness. And I know. And you know, my ex was a trained, like super duper negotiator, like hostage stuff like that. I was dealing with somebody who had, like, you know, when his back was against the wall, he was going to be there for the next 2 weeks. So,
were you ever worried he would walk all over you? Once you put it out, you intended to do it. Was there a moment?
I surrendered. I literally surrendered my fears, and I just thought, this is how I'm going to do it. And if somebody wants to do that, I wasn't going to be a doormat, because we have lawyers. Yeah, you have a lawyer to check the paperwork. And I think this is what people just get so, and actually you have somebody who is a professional, who knows their stuff, who, as as your client, are not going to let this person, and choose wisely with lawyers as well. My podcast, there's a podcast thing about choosing lawyers. And I think sometimes we think, oh my God, what about this? What about that? We go and meet our friends. Some of our friends may have got divorces. They may have had really shitty divorces. Am I allowed to say that word?
Yeah.
And like divorces that, you know, we call them sort of pub lawyers, and that's not anything against friends, but everybody's divorce is different. And I remember our friends just thinking, oh, we're going to run for the hills because Tosh and her ex, they're going to get a divorce. And everybody was just like, there's just going to be the most enormous fight. And I just thought, I'm not going to give you what you think is going to happen. And that's kind of part of the divorce goddess ethos. It's actually consciously making a decision to do it differently, to start changing that narrative that divorce always has to be bad, or worse than it is.
So how do you prepare the world around you? Because most people, I think, they won't get a divorce, not necessarily because of their partner, but or giving it another go, but they think, well, what would the friends say, or you know, would the children be okay? You know, shall we not give it another year and then another one? And so, how do you prepare the world around you?
I think that's a really good question. Thank you. I think first of all, if you can have, if the possibility is there, I'm going to say possibility rather than definite, because the world is always full of possibilities. If you can believe there's a possibility that the pair of you can go, actually, we're going to get through this with our dignity, as much money as we can, and our mental health and emotional health, and that includes our children, most importantly, through this. If you can kind of, even if you write a letter and just go, do you know what, this is how I want to do it. And can you do some of this as well? And you both say so you're firm. Even if one of you is doing this, you just get to say to your family and friends, right, I'm going to get a divorce. This is how I want to do it. I would love your support with lasagnas and, you know, and food and DIY in my home from husbands who are friends. And tell your friends what you need, because friends don't always know what they need. Parents, the other thing is parents, that their mantelpieces are changed forever, you know, all their wedding photos, all that stuff, the shame of going into the church and the community or whatever they are, and having to tell their friends, oh, my children are getting divorced, you know, they sometimes don't get it, because a lot of people come from their own place of pain. It's like friends, some friends disappear. And actually it says more about their marriages, that you're shining the divorce light a little bit too close to some of the cracks in their own marriages, and you lose friends. But in that losing, you open up the possibilities to make amazing new friends who are going to be like, they're going to be part of your amazing, exciting new adventure and journey and reconnecting to you. So I met loads of friends who were really, really spiritual. And, you know, when I was bending over one day and a rosy quartz crystal dropped out my bra, another friend of mine went, oh my God, you keep your crystals in your bra as well. And I got this really funny story once. My ex came to pick up the children, and I think I picked something off the floor. And this crystal fell out, and he went, what's that? And I went, that's a crystal. And I was seeing somebody at the time, and they went, do they know about this stuff? And I said, yeah, they do, and they love it. And you could just see he was going, I'm so glad I get divorced from you. And this is something that you just got to laugh at, the madness of life sometimes.
I love what you're saying about making room for new friends in your life, because they're the friends who will be able to help you look forward to the future of the new you, because they won't have that old baggage of your life when you were, you know, part of a couple. They'll know you just for being you, and they will help you develop that, and they won't always kind of look around to see where your partner is when you walk in the room or anything. It helps you, I imagine it helps you feel stronger in yourself because of these new friends.
Yeah, and you just have common interests. I mean, a lot of my friends are divorced, and we all know what we're going through. We know that, you know, we know what it feels like to drop your children off and then come back to an empty house and have to spend the weekend there, and all your old couple friends are probably having dinner parties, but you're like, because, you know, women get a really hard, you know, socially, people are not kind with single women and divorcees. And, you know, I have three beautiful, lovely couples from when we were married, and they still bicker in front of me, and they'll still give me hugs, and they scoop me and the children up, and those friends are absolutely rock solid. But it's having your new friends. I mean, honestly, I go sea swimming with these friends, these single friends, and we're driving down the dark early in the morning, and we're like, oh, Sunday morning, and everyone else is in bed, and we're getting in the freezing cold sea. Or it's a bit, you know, this whole Thelma and Louise thing. I love that film because it is about, you know, women are amazing. We are so amazing at like really coming together and having each other's backs and checking in, how are you doing? That's just a very natural, lovely thing. And if those other friends don't, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. It says more about them, right?
It does. It does. Yeah.
A lot of women in the Thelma and Louise community find it quite daunting to go out and make new friends. Have you got any tips on how people can do that? It's because it's hard to do once you're past that, you know, school, university,
totally.
NTT, or, you know, primary school, sort of having kids there where you are naturally thrown together with groups of like-minded people. How do you do that a bit later in life?
So I absolutely get this, and I was there. And first things first, that's probably what everybody's going to expect me to say, is you got to start liking hanging out with yourself first. You've just got to not expect to meet people who are going to help you feel less lonely. You've got to start loving and hanging out with yourself. And it's not like me going, oh yeah, I'm so wonderful and I'm so interesting and all that other stuff. It's just, you've got to get used to going out for a walk on your own. Take yourself off when the cinema's open, and, you know, go and have a meal on your own. Get really good about being on your own, because then when you meet people, we all feel that needy, clingy person energy of people. And the irony is, it's that person that most needs you, but everybody's a bit like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah, and we know that just from, like, you know, any... So get good at hanging out with yourself with no expectations of, you know, who's going to come in. And then when you're kind of cool with yourself, you just attract people in. And I would say something like, I cannot recommend highly enough cold water swimming. And I literally, there are so many Facebook groups, you know, you guys know about this. There is something, and particularly females, I go down to a beach sometimes on my own, or I go with a friend, and there are bunches of women, and they're all getting their, you know, clothes off to go.
They're just swimming, aren't they? They're just swimming on the beach.
And it's like, morning, how are you doing? And you say hello to people, you hang out with them, there's some interaction, and then you get in the sea and you just feel incredible when you come out. And I think the more you can find, you know, a running group, you know, use that as an, you know, an opportunity, and don't have any expectations that I'm going to join this group and I'm going to meet lots of friends. Just go and just be part of that, and then it just happens organically. I
like this idea of spending time more with yourself, because I think it's so much pressure in the world to be happy, to act happy, to try to be happy. I mean, it must be something to, you know, sort of living a bit more meaningful, a bit more content, or just finding joy.
And I agree, like finding joy, and sometimes, you know, even in those moments where you choose to be on your own, you hang out, you're getting over your fears. So even if you know, go and sit and, you know, and it's a bit difficult at the moment, of course it is, because, you know, places aren't open, which for some people might actually be a relief. Like, I don't have to go and do the sitting in the restaurant bit on my own. But, you know, even just, I remember going to a sushi place and just sitting there on a perch, and somebody just came, sat there and talked to me, and then I went to the cinema. And I was so proud of myself. I was so like, you've done this. That's really hard to do. And you grow your resilience. You grow your confidence by doing these small things. And when you get to that stage, you just attract some fantastic women in along as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, but joining groups, joining swimmers, joining runners, cycling, do something you've never done before. Join a singing group.
Yeah.
You know, join something that brings you joy. I think, you know, Anna was saying, you know, that joy in life. And it doesn't have to cost any money. You know, these days we've all learned that we don't have to spend loads of money to, you know, pass the time, and, you know, and that's without people. So
it's interesting. Our guest last week, no, the week before, Kelly Lewis, we were asking her how do you go about meeting people in a new place when you're traveling, and she gave pretty much the exact same advice. First of all, if you want to be comfortable, you've got to be comfortable traveling solo. Go and practice by going to a restaurant by yourself. Go out for the night and the day by yourself. There's a lot of parallels here.
But it's you know, that's where we all have to start with ourselves. And so often, you know, going through a divorce, you're filled with angst, and maybe you've just been told you weren't very good enough for many years, and you know, there's been emotional and mental abuse as well, and you don't have any confidence, which is why it's like, you know, you can go and see a therapist, you can go and see a coach, but actually you still have, when you leave that session, you still have to come back and live with yourself. You still, in those quieter moments, still have to be with you.
For sure.
And it's so tempting just to kind of, you know, do everything but be with ourselves, especially if we don't feel so good about ourselves, we feel ashamed or a failure, and we think, oh, actually I don't really want to do that, which is why I come back to that list, asking your friends to write down 3 amazing words that describe you. So you, in those moments where you're thinking, who am I anymore? You know, what have I got left in my world? You can read those words and go, actually, there are people out there who think this about me, and that's good.
You know, they have your back in a way, you know,
exactly.
they are there for you.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I mean, it's just, you know, divorce is, it is up there as the second most painful traumatic human experience, and nobody is taking that away. And I do believe that it is an opportunity. If you can turn that mindset around from something being done to you to an opportunity for you to rise, to flourish, to grow, and start owning the next part of your life. And it doesn't matter how old you are, your precious life is just, you know, that's what we do have.
Yeah, you don't want to be those 80-year-olds in the room still trying to avoid or fight with each other at family parties, basically. That sounds like a grim future.
Oh, wait, well, they just don't even fight. They just don't turn up. It's just, you just go, oh my goodness.
That's really sad.
I mean, now I laugh because they're my best, you know, somebody said to me the other day, and they are my best teachers because they taught me how not to do it, and so I bring a lot of,
We have had some messages also before our chat, but also during our chat. And Lizzie is the one thing I find so difficult, going out and eat on my own.
Okay, so my top tip for that is, the temptation is to find that corner. So I would say don't sit in a corner, first off. You can either, if you're feeling like it's your first time out, is to sit maybe with your back to the wall, facing out. Second tip, if you're feeling really bold and ready to step out your discomfort zone, is get a table right in the middle of the restaurant where everybody can see you're there.
And a red dress?
And a red dress, a pair of knickers on, and you sit there with your shoulders back, and you order your glass of wine, you order your meal, and you absolutely, because if people are judging you, this is their stuff.
Yeah.
They are putting themselves in your place where they're going, oh God, oh my God, poor her, because this is their stuff. This is how they would feel. This is not because, they're all privately going, oh my God, look at her. She's so brave. That's awesome. The other thing. And to walk into a restaurant, you put your shoulders back, you hold your head up high, and you go, I am absolutely worth walking into this restaurant and eating just like all those other couples that are maybe or maybe not in bad places in their marriage. They don't have anything to say to each other anymore, and they're probably all secretly wishing they were on an adventure.
Yeah.
Dee says, I'm married to a narcissist. I'm very comfortable with my own company and always been.
I love that.
She married a narcissist. So how?
Well, I just want to say, amazing. It's like, the thing is, if somebody wants to be unkind and mean and controlling, you have a choice. It's a very difficult thing at the moment because narcissist seems to be a word, and I'm not saying obviously Dee has used it in this way, but a lot of people are using the word narcissist, and it's almost becoming so overused. And I'm not saying Dee in any way that you've done this because I don't know your situation, but there is a lot of talk about narcissists. But if you are owning it, amazing.
But for most people, I think
if I understood the question correctly, sorry.
Well,
more than a question.
More of a comment, but I think for a lot of people, it's a series of events or a series of things that have happened, and the situation is sometimes more complicated.
Yeah.
I've sent you an information about a lady, and I am going to mention it because it's quite a story. And
it is. And if this lady's watching, just love out to you, first of all. Just want to say, even because the girls very kindly emailed me, just so I got a thing, an idea about this. But I just want to say the fact you've even written it is so courageous and so strong of you. I mean, that's before anything else.
Is there do you have any tips for Megan? I mean, Megan, just so for everybody listening, Megan is in her 70s. Her husband is quite a bit younger, and they have a daughter together. And the daughter lives at home, and she goes through a difficult time right now. She's at home. She's most of the time in her room, and doesn't go outdoors. And then Megan tried to go away. She went away on a holiday, and she felt quite good about it. She met some friends. She was quite in a good place. And then the husband turned up and surprised her. And she's back at home in a difficult situation where she's not happy. She hasn't been happy for years, but she doesn't know how to get out of it. And I don't know if she's lacking the courage or the financial security that she is having now, or but she's looking for a way forward. Yeah.
So I was just going to say, there's quite a lot in here. And thank you for writing it. I mean, first of all, it's never too late. Nothing is ever too late. And I'm one of those people that believes in the universe, that if something isn't working, it's having the courage to walk through it. It's to say, you mentioned about these lovely relatives, you felt fit, happy and loved. That's what your life is about. And actually, if your daughter's not happy in home and you're not happy, and from what you wrote, your husband isn't happy as well, and it's very difficult for me just to do this on the hop, so please, this is just my thoughts. It feels to me there's a lot of fear and not moving on. But if you think of a bath, and the bath water gets colder and colder and colder, and it just gets, you're sitting in the bath and it's like, oh, I just want to get out, and you can't get out. And then suddenly you make that decision to pull out the plug and get out. And it's like, you get out of the water, or else you pull out the plug and you put some more hot water in, and then you warm up. And it feels like, for me, there's like a sort of energy block. There's a change, there's something that needs to shift. And when it shifts, it will be okay. And you sound to me like a really, really strong lady. And it sounds to me, you know what needs to happen. And I would say, this deep in your heart and deep inside you, you know what you need to do. And it's having the courage to do it. Looking after yourself, honoring your daughter, and honoring your husband, and trusting that if you can all have the courage, or you particularly, because you're writing this email, is to actually take that step. And you did say, I may not have long on this earth. I regret not having left this relationship many years ago, and now I'm faced with a bleak old age. You are only faced, I'm going to call you out on this, right? You are only faced with a bleak old age, right? If you stay where you are, doing what you're doing and expecting a different outcome or things to change. Because there is that thing, isn't it? If we're doing the same thing over and over again, like, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different. Something has got to change. The energy has got to change.
Yeah, definitely.
And you are strong, and your daughter is suffering. I'm not saying because of the marriage, because I don't know the full history, but I just feel, and if nothing is working as it is, just step through that. You are strong. And trust that you will be okay when we take that, make that move forward, and whether it's booking a trip, whether it's leaving a marriage, whether it's I left a marriage, we were hitting the wall. I mean, it was just, but I just knew I had to do it. I was younger, of course, but and it's like anything in life. If your job isn't working for you and it keeps on and you're getting more and more miserable, it's like the universe going, come on, girl, you've got to make a change.
Yeah.
You've got to have that conversation. And I don't know if this is helpful, but in my experience in life, if something's not happening, it's going round and round and round. It's going to keep on going round and round. It's going to get harder and harder and more painful. And you've already...
Someone's got to take that step, and it sounds like it's got to be her.
Yeah.
It sounds like the other ones might eventually thank her for it if it can be done in the right way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then you give yourself the opportunity to live a beautiful rest of your life. Your ex-husband, if he's younger, he may find somebody really lovely to spend the rest of his life with. Your daughter will be out of this sort of this energy of stuckness that's going on.
Yeah.
And I know it's very broad, and because, and please, I'm, particularly with this lady, I'm happy to have a conversation, but I just feel that if nothing is working, something has to change.
Yeah.
Tosh, thank you. That was brilliant, just on the spot. But we thought we should tackle a scenario that,
If Megan or anyone else who's been watching wants to get in touch with you to explore more of the issues that we've uncovered this evening, how can they do that?
They can. So I have a podcast, Divorce Goddess Podcast, and I haven't done a couple of episodes for about a month, but I've had loads in there that will kind of, a lot of people just say, oh my God, don't need anything from you because we've listened to all your podcasts. So please look at the Divorce Goddess Podcast. I'm on Instagram at Divorce Goddess, and I'm running a series at the moment of inspirational women. So, and I do quite a lot of lives and coaching and stuff like that to sort of call you out. I quite like calling people out because we all need to be called out sometimes.
Yeah, brilliant.
Painful as it is. Thank you so much as well for being lovely, both of you. It's been really lovely.
Thank you. It's been very enlightening, very informative, and I'm sure people watching have found it really, really useful. So
I hope so.
taking the time to talk to us this evening. It's been an
Pleasure.
absolute pleasure.
I think it was quite good for people that are in a relationship, or to know, how to manage that, maybe to have some different views on it, and try to make it better.
It's quite funny actually, because there are people I know that go, I'm married and I follow you, because it's just really helpful. Like, which is why I call it like divorce life coaching, because it's not just divorce, it's the rest of your life. And
it sounds like it's very much about identity, which is something that you need to work on maintaining and nourishing regardless.
And loving.
Yeah,
totally,
definitely. Well, thank you very much, Tosh. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It was lovely to talk to you guys, and so lovely to meet you. And thank you for asking me as well. When this came up, I was literally like, I love that Thelma and Louise thing. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tosh.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.